Hey everyone, thank you so much for clicking on this Netflix review. The fact that you're willing to sacrifice a few minutes out of your day to consume my content really does mean the world to me. So I want to say thank you guys. You guys really are the best. For those of you that are unaware, I review everything that gets released on Netflix. So if you're ever curious about whether something is good, bad, or completely mediocre, come to my channel and I'll let you know. So subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, guys, because I want to be your go-to Netflix guy. And today we're going to be talking about a true crime series. This is a robbery. This is probably the tamest true crime I've reviewed so far. I've reviewed quite a few recently in the last 2 months. But this one is really tame in the fact that it's probably the first true crime I've ever actually watched that doesn't tackle murder. This is simply about the Gardner Museum, which was in Boston. If you are familiar with the case, you will know that in 1990, 13 artworks were stolen. And to this day, we still don't know where these artworks are. There is still a $10 million reward for information and the recovery of these artworks. That's just insane to me. So to see a case that's been going on for basically 23 years in this Netflix true crime documentary was really a lot of fun, and it was very interesting. And I won't lie, it's nice to look at the tamer aspects of true crime. When you watch things like Night Stalker and stuff like that, and you see how everyone was just brutally murdered, it can get a bit tiring, and tiring in the fact that it's emotionally exhausting, whereas this is just a series that was very interesting and educational to watch. So there were actually two things that really stood out to me in this documentary. The first one is the reasons why people steal these sort of artworks. I always just assumed, okay, well, they steal artworks because they're worth a lot of money. I mean, that's what you're taught when you study visual arts. These are priceless artifacts, these are priceless artworks. So like you just think, okay, well, if they're ever going to get stolen, it's for money. And no, in this documentary, it actually breaks down the fact that a lot of artwork's actually stolen because mob members, gang members, just general criminals, what they do is they use artworks as leverage to get shorter jail sentences, which I thought was very interesting. If you've got something valuable, you basically trade it as a way to get your punishments reduced. That was very interesting to me. Because of the values of these artworks, they're very often used to trade with arms and weapons. And that was another thing that was very interesting to me. Something that is supposed to be an emotional, moving piece of art can be used on the black market for weapons of destruction. I thought that was very interesting. Another thing that also really stuck out to me was how the FBI and cops and basically any investigation team operated in the 1990s. Because it's incredibly different to today. And they're busy talking about how a lot of the systems they have in place nowadays would have helped them back during the initial investigation of this case, because there's actually so much evidence that's gone missing. It's either just been misplaced or people believe they sent it to a different place and it didn't go there. And to me, that's just interesting that, wow, you trust these people like on these million-dollar cases, and they seem to be making these little silly errors everywhere. And it's just because they didn't have the proper rules and regulations in place yet. So I'm actually very grateful to see how far investigation work has come since the 1990s. So to me, this was just a very interesting and unique look at crime. Again, the most interesting thing about true crime for me is the fact that it's real, that it's true, that it's things that actually happened. And this series, this documentary series, did a very good job of portraying a very unique crime in a very unique way. There were only a few moments where I ever felt like I was truly let down by the amount of information that we were given. In episode 1 or 2, the curator of the museum is actually talking about how the museum was completely bombarded by information and statements and bomb threats and death threats and everything like that once the artworks were stolen. And I wish they spent more time on that, even if it was just 5 more minutes, so we can really understand, wow, this is an individual whose job is just to look after a museum. 13 artworks are stolen, and you'd think that'd be enough drama there. But for whatever reason, people are then sending bomb threats and stuff like that to the museum as well. That is so much to deal with, and I wish we just got a bit more from the curator in that aspect. And there's a few other situations like that where I really wish they really broke down into the information just a little bit more. But ultimately, I believe this is a really good series that covers majority of its topics in a desirable fashion that leaves you fulfilled and satisfied with the amount of information you've gotten out. By the end of the series, I will say this. It's almost a bit bumming. It's a little bit upsetting that they don't have a proper conclusion to the story. And that's simply because even though they believe they found who was involved with the stealing of these artworks, they still haven't found the artworks themselves. And so it's like, wow, I just spent 4 hours, because each episode, there's 4 episodes in total, each about 50 to an hour long, 50 minutes to an hour long. You invest 4 hours of your life into a documentary to find out that the crime was never truly solved, and the fact that we never got the artworks back. So I would recommend this to those true crime fans that are interested in a unique story and are fine knowing it doesn't necessarily have a happy ending. Guys, thank you so much for watching this review. You guys are the best. You're awesome, and I hope to see you again in another review.